Hi, you guys. Um, since t- yeah, I just started author tubing today, and because it's December 1st, I want to give an overview of how NaNoWriMo went for me because I did do NaNoWriMo. Okay, so first off, I had a novel that I started in July, um, and I finished it at the beginning of November, November 2nd. I was aiming to finish that novel October 31st so that I could start something new November 1st. And I thought, since I'd never written a novel before, I was kind of inexperienced, and I thought, oh, November 1st, I'll just start the sequel, or I'll just start something new. And as soon as I finished that one on October 31st, okay, it turned out that when I finished my first novel, I did not immediately feel like drafting a sequel, which apparently is a good thing because you don't have to draft a sequel until like closer to like when your first book gets a book deal and stuff like that. You don't have to really worry about the sequel before then. So, so anyway, I wasn't done by the end of October 31st with my first book, but I decided I would start a new novel anyway, and then like after I hit my word goal for the day, then I would work on the old one a little bit, and that worked for me for the first 2 days, and then I finished my first novel, like I said, November 2nd at 11:28 p.m. It is. It ended up being good for me that I had started another novel, so I need to probably say things to distinguish these. So the first novel we're going to call the July novel, and the second novel we're going to call the New York novel for right now. Just for right now. I probably will tell you titles eventually. Um, so yeah, so the New York novel I started November 1st. I pantsed the mess out of that mess. I pantsed it because why? Because I did not take any time to plan New York novel while I was still writing July novel. So I was just like, oh, you know what? Oh, I took like 3 seconds to plan it, but not much. So I mostly pantsed that. Um, yeah. So those first 2 days, I was doing New York novel and then a little bit of July novel. New York novel started off strong. I hit above the word count on days 1 and 2, and I was blessed to have an inspiration on day 1 to make it better than it was gonna be. And it is contemporary. New York novel is contemporary. Okay. Um, I learned something. I learned that some novels need more planning than others, and I think New York novel could have benefited from more planning. I think of myself as a pantser or a plantser, but I think for New York novel purposes, that needs more planning. So New York novel is not done right now, but that is okay. Um, so yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm trying not to overlap, but I am overlapping by accident. Anyway, November 2nd evening, July novel was done. I was so happy, but surprisingly, I got kind of scared when I finished July novel. I'd never finished a novel before, and I thought I was gonna be so happy, but I got kind of scared that night that like I'm sure I'm not the only author who's ever had this fear. I was afraid that July novel would never be perfect and that I would edit it forever and it would never be good enough. So that was a fear that I had, and I was like, I want to be happy, but I don't know. So I went to sleep, and the next day I felt happier. I was like, oh, I have a finished manuscript. Like this is so great. Like nobody can. This is just great. So I felt a lot better that morning, the third or whatever, after finishing July novel. So thumbs up for that. Um, yeah, I was still working on New York novel until about day 4 or so of NaNoWriMo, and I very much slowed down on New York novel because, like I said, this one would have benefited from more planning. Um, and I kind of got to a point and was like, I don't know what to do next. So I slowed down. The other reason, though, this is a good reason, the other reason I slowed down so much on New York novel is because I was editing July novel. And it hadn't occurred to me before how much energy it was going to take to edit July novel. I almost don't know if I would have committed to doing NaNoWriMo if I had known how much energy it was going to take to edit July Novel. It was like, wow, I edited it quickly. Um, I don't know if I went in a rush, but I did edit it quite quickly. And then I started querying it very quickly. So I started querying it the weekend after I had finished the first draft. This is generally not recommended. They say you let it rest for a while before you edit it. They say don't edit it the day after you finish it, but I was like, I was like really impatient. So I was really impatient, but right now I'm taking a break from querying it. If that helps, until I get a response from these current queries that are out there. But anyway, yeah, I did edit quickly, and I did start querying, and thumbs up for that. Kind of. So that was that weekend, and I wasn't writing New York Novel at all because my mind was going over and over July Novel a lot. The second week of November, so like the week of November 7th, yeah, I was further editing July Novel. And this was one of those things where, like, you've already started doing things with it, but then you're like, oh, I have to edit some more, blah, 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 whatever. Some people are going to be really mad, or not mad, but are going to think, like, Simone, you totally went about this wrong. That is a possibility. That is a possibility. So that week, that second week, I was very much focused on editing July Novel, not writing New York Novel. And then, and then the weekend, weekend of the 15th or 12th or whatever, I did another query and I entered my manuscript into a contest. That was part of the reason why I rushed to edit it, because I wanted to enter it into this contest. That might not actually, well, we're just going to see what happens. So we're going to see what happens. But like I said, I edited it and I felt good about it. I felt like it was edited well and everything. So that was cool. I felt like I edited it fast but well. So anyway, I did that. But then after I had done that new query and I had done the contest entry, both of those were the first time I had sent out the full manuscript to somebody that could judge it, like, in that way. And I got very nervous after sending it off. And I told myself, Simone, don't look at July Novel. You just send it off on Saturday. Don't look at it on Monday or Sunday. What did I do? I looked at it on Sunday and Monday, and I found 3 one-word mistakes. Now, the good thing is it's only 3 one-word mistakes. So that would mean that other than that, it was edited very well. But I kind of freaked out. I kind of had a freak out. I don't know. I think this was on Monday, the 14th. I was like, I typed 8 and I meant to type 13, and that's a big difference. Okay. So, yeah, that was my freak out. On the day that I had told myself to relax, I was doing the opposite of relaxation. But the good news, sort of, is that I started a new book that day, the 14th. The new book is a children's book, so it's a lot shorter than, like, a regular novel. It's going to be a lot shorter. It's not quite done, but it's going to be a lot shorter. So this is where things get confusing, because I started the New York Novel at the beginning of November, and then on November 14th, I started, let's call it the camel book, okay? Because there's a camel as a character in it. Like I said, children's book. Hey, I can do that. Fun. I started the camel book. I was very excited to start the camel book. It was fun. It's fun to write. It's still fun to write. I do need to do more research in that category, though, because, like I said, it's a children's chapter book, and I have not read a children's chapter book in a while. So I need to go do some research and understand how, the use of vocabulary and everything should work in a children's chapter book. But I ended up with about 2,500 words of that one or something like that. So that was thumbs up. And I think I decided by that week to count all of my writing in November towards NaNoWriMo instead of just the New York Novel. So, a little bit of a rebel, but I think it's rebel with a cause, right? I don't know what that means, but anyway. Yes, so Camel Book was started. November 14th. That I had some fun writing that week. I forgot something. I'm sorry. Rewind to November 9th. Okay. On November 9th, I accidentally started writing the sequel to July novel. Okay, so I might have already mentioned this earlier in the video. I can't quite remember. I know you don't need to write a sequel that soon, and I did not want to write a sequel. I was not trying to write a sequel. What happened was I was like walking around outside, kind of getting some exercise by walking, thinking about July novel and about that series because I believe it will be more than one book. And I thought of a scene and I was like, okay, this is pretty much my rule. When I think of a scene, I'm going to write it because I don't want to forget. Like if I think of some specific details of that scene, I'm going to write it right then. So that's what I did. I wrote it right then, and that was the sequel to July novel. So yeah. Oops. Oh well. Oops. Okay. Didn't mean to do that, but it actually ended up being kind of good. So yeah, from the 14th when I started, what was that called? Camel book? Yeah. So then I was like kind of writing those few things, and I was not caught up with Nano. And at that time I thought I wouldn't be caught up with NaNoWriMo, and I was okay with that because the edits of July novel were like consuming my brain. Like after already having sent out the manuscript, I felt like I was going to wake up in the middle of the night and be like, oh, flustered! They should be flustered instead of surprised! Oh! Or something like that. So, yeah, I may have a whole video later about what it feels like to edit. It's a real emotional roller coaster. You might need some ice cream. Not need ice cream, but Anyway, so I was like, at that time I was like, I can't, do NaNoWriMo because I have to focus on July novel. And I got really, really stressed out. And on the 20th of November, I changed a big detail of July novel. I changed a major character's name. Now, what I did not do is I did not email the agent that already had my full manuscript and be like, oh, by the way, I changed so-and-so's name, because I thought that would do more harm than good. just wait, and then I can change his name back if I need to. If she's like, no, you need to change his name back. I don't know if agents can like tell you to change your character's name back. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's just anyway. I didn't email anybody and say, hey, I changed this character's name, blah blah blah. I just changed his name. I needed to change it because it was too similar to another character's name, and I had known that when I first named him that. It was too similar to the main character. I knew that when I first named him that while writing the book. I knew that they were kind of similar, but I was like, it'll be fine. It's gonna be fine. I was like, oh, he doesn't, he needs this name in order to have, like, this personality that he needs to have. And so when I changed it on November 20th, I was tired of it. I had been thinking through the novel, looking through the novel, reading through the novel, and I was like, I'm tired of these two characters having similar names. I'm not going to take it anymore. This character's name is going to change today. And so, thankfully, well, I don't want to say thankfully because I made it up, but this character was biracial, and I realized I had looked for other names for him other than the first name that I gave him. I had looked for other names for him, but I had only looked in the one culture to find a name for him. So, and none of those names had seemed right. And then I was like, oh, he has a whole other side of his family from a different place, and I can look in that culture instead. And I found a name that I think works very well for him. But I was still mad at myself. I was mad at myself for feeling like, oh, I changed his name. This is so bad. His personality is going to be different. I was mad at myself because I was like, no, his personality is not going to be different. I just changed his name. Like, that's a really not cool way to think about it. So I was mad at myself that evening. And then something awesome happened, which was at 1-something in the morning. It was like November 21st. I started a new Nano novel And you guys are like, dang woman, how many nano novels did you start? This one was the last one. Honest. This one was the last one. Okay? And this one, what are we going to call this one? What are we going to nickname it? Let's call it Yarn. Which is great because it has to do with yarn, but also because yarn means story. So, this is Yarn. Okay? I started Yarn on November 21st. The great thing about this is, first of all, I rediscovered how exciting it can be to start a new novel. I was excited when I started New York Novel, and I can regain the excitement of New York Novel. I'm not like quitting on New York Novel forever. I'm gonna write New York. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna write New York Novel. But the thing is, the excitement that I felt when I started Yarn was like new. It was like a new level of excitement. I was so excited. I was like, oh gosh, I'm having so many ideas. And I did a brainstorm for it because again, Plantser, which means I did a little bit of a plan. It was a brainstorm. It was like, this is gonna happen, and this character's gonna do this, and da 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 da. And from there, I just kind of pantsed it. And I love Yarn. I'm really excited about Yarn. I'm really excited for some people to get to read it. And I will tell you the title eventually. But I don't know. Right now, I'm just, I don't know, just doing whatever. So yeah, the day that I started Yarn, I wrote about 5,300 words. And I was really behind on Nano before that. I was at like 15,000 words and it was November 21st. So I was supposed to be at like 35,000 words. But I wrote 5,300 words or something like that in that one day. And I was like, whoa. Like, I was really excited by that. And actually, 1,000 and something of those words that I wrote that day were in New York Novel. Yay! Because I was like unloading the dishwasher or something. We were on vacation, but I was unloading the dishwasher. And I thought of a couple of sentences for New York Novel. And then I was like, oops, gotta go write those as soon as possible. So I wrote those couple of sentences and it turned into 1,000 words. And this makes me very happy because I believe that there is still hope for New York Novel. New York Novel is at about 9,600 or something words right now. So that's not nothing. That's almost 10,000 words. So I believe that there's still hope for New York Novel and that I will write New York Novel after I write Yarn. Okay, so yay. Okay, so Yarn. Yeah, so I was writing Yarn the first day. Got 5,000 words out. I wasn't sure if it would be a single perspective or what, and it's actually a lot of it is told in verse. And I wrote this one person's perspective all in verse. And I was like, if this is long enough, I don't have to add anything else. But if it's not long enough, I can add more perspectives and things like that as long as, I feel that the storytelling is going to be good. So I wrote that one person's perspective all in verse, all in one day, and it was 3,400 words. And I was like, this is not a novel. This is a short story. So I am going to have to flesh things out, go into more detail, go into different perspectives, because this was the type of concept where you could put other stories with the main story and they would all connect. Like Yarn. I'll just tell you the title. The book is called Tethered. I love calling it Tethered. I'm going to call it Tethered. It's called Tethered. Yay! Okay. Yeah, anyway. So, for the rest of Nano, that first day that I wrote Tethered, I also wrote New York Novel. Dang it, New York Novel is called Furlough. Okay? I just couldn't do it. July Novel is called Red Letter Law. I know, I kept those secrets for like 5 minutes. 10, 20 minutes, 19 minutes. I kept those. Oh, hey! Oh, sorry. I'm sorry about that. I'm in the laundry room and somebody walked in and I got startled. I should film somewhere else, but this is actually the brightest light in my house at night, if you believe it. Anyway, what? Yes, okay, so Tethered. That's the novel that I'm writing now, and I'm so excited. It's like, yeah, I love rediscovering the joy of writing with a new novel, because here's the thing. I'm sure other authors can probably sympathize with this, right? When I finished July Novel, which was my first novel, or while I was writing it, I was afraid that I would never have that much fun writing a novel again. Like, I was afraid that was the only novel I was going to write that was going to be a whole lot of fun, and then after that it would be like, okay, I'm writing this because I have to write this. That's not true, because Tethered is a lot of fun, and that means my other novels that I write in the future, those can be a lot of fun too. So that just means writing is fun. I love writing. So for Tethered. Okay. Yeah. So I wrote 5,000 or 4,000, a lot of words for it. Yeah, about almost 4,000 words for it that first day, plus 1,000 of furlough. The second day, yeah, on November 22nd, I wrote another like 3,000 words of Tethered. And then I slowed down because it was the day before Thanksgiving and the day of Thanksgiving, and I slowed down until Sunday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those last 4 days of Nano, I kicked it into high gear and I wrote a whole lot of Tethered. And let me tell you, NaNoWriMo for this purpose was really, really good because I didn't know if I could get Tethered to a good length. I wasn't even sure if I could get it to 20,000 words, to be honest. But the thing is, my sentences were very direct. I was just saying, like, this happened, and then we talked, and then we went to the store. And it was like, I definitely just typed and talked like Cookie Monster, okay? But I was just saying, like, this happened, and that happened, and that happened, and I wasn't going into detail, and that's why Tethered was about to be like a short story instead of a novel. So, because NaNoWriMo was encouraging me to get the words, I was able to get a huge improvement in the word count of Tethered, and I was really excited about that. And so, I believe, I can't remember what kind of number I put up on Sunday, but Monday, yeah, I think Sunday I wrote 5,000 and something, like 5,600 or something. Monday I wrote 5,800. No, wrong. Sorry, I don't remember how much I wrote on Sunday. Monday I wrote 5,600. Tuesday I wrote 5,800, and Wednesday I wrote 8,043 words, which I don't think I've ever written that much in my life. I don't think I'd ever even written 5,600 before this week. And if I have written 5,600, it was some nonsense. I can tell you that much, because there was one NaNoWriMo where I just like went ham and wrote a bunch of words on the last day, but that was some abject nonsense. Not even a novel. It was just like, blah, 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 blah. I am writing. It is 12:36 a.m. And I still didn't hit the word count that year. So don't think that I cheated and won, because I cheated and lost. So yeah. But yeah, so that time I cheated and lost. And this time I didn't cheat and I won. Because with those 8,043 words that I wrote yesterday, still can't believe it was 8,043 words. How does that even make sense? I don't even understand. But with those 8,043 words that I wrote yesterday, I got to, guess what number? 50,011 words. 50,011. So just barely over the minimum. And I hit that number at 11:52 p.m. So I had like very little time to spare. And it just felt like, if you're a pantser, that's like the best feeling. You're like, I pantsed and won! Yes! Like, you feel like that kid in college that like you waited until the hour before class to do your essay. Oh, I mean, I never did that, right? I totally did that, but okay. And then like you still got an A. Okay, okay. I need to stop. I'm wilding. I didn't even get an A. I probably got a B. Anyway, so I finished NaNoWriMo and I won NaNoWriMo. And look, winning NaNoWriMo is not even like the important thing. This is the icing on the cake. It's not the cake itself, et cetera, et cetera. Because winning is cool. But if you did NaNoWriMo, if you wrote anything, good on ya. To say it in British people language, good on ya. So good for you. Yes. So I'm gonna give you a very brief note on what I plan to do now that NaNoWriMo is over. Yeah, like, let me think. Oh, that's the other thing. Tethered is now at 30,000, like 800 words or something. It's like 30,000 words. Before, like, this blows my mind. It really does blow my mind that I started this book 10 days ago, almost 11 days ago, and I have 30,000 words on this book. That blows my mind. And like I said, I didn't know if I could get 20,000 out of this idea. I was like struggling to get the 20, and like, I don't know, I just kept writing. Like, that's the advice that everyone gives you. That's the best advice, is you just keep writing. Like, you just keep writing. Just keep writing. Just keep writing. Just keep writing. Anyway, that got really annoying really fast. I have 30,000 words on this book, which means before the end of December, I could be done with the first draft. I could possibly be well into editing it, or maybe not, because they say set it aside before you edit it, so maybe I'll set that aside and work on writing the New York novel. Furlough, that's what it's called. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do next. I do need to probably come back to you on Monday and with some concrete December goals, like word count goals, or what needs to be done, or just things like that by the end of December. But yeah, it's just really encouraging to me that I have more words in this draft of this novel than I thought I could have. And I really wanted to get it to like the minimum of like a fantasy young adult. I don't even know if it's young adult, because that's but we're gonna, because some of the characters are teenagers but get older, so I don't know what to call that. Young adult, new adult. Maybe I can just look that up. Maybe I can just choose. Anyway, the point is, you guys, the point is, like Winston Churchill said, never, ever, ever, ever give up. I don't know how many evers were in there, but really, like, don't give up, you guys. And it's December, and you know what? November is not the only time you can write something. If you didn't get where you wanted to get in November, if you didn't finish the draft you wanted to finish, or if you didn't get to 50,000 words, because my draft is probably not done. My draft is not done. It needs more words. So my draft of Tethered is not done. It's just off to a really good start. But if you didn't get the 50,000, or you didn't get whatever your goal is, you know what? You still got hands to type. You still got a computer to type on. Maybe if you do, I don't know. Or you have a notebook and whatever stuff you had to write in November, you still have it now. So just keep going. And you know, one of my new sayings is like, this ain't NaNoWriMo, this is NaNoWri life. In other words, I am pursuing writing as a career. Therefore, it is not just 1 month. It is all day, day. Hashtag we out, yeah. Okay, so yeah. Side note, yeah. Ending note: be encouraged. Yeah, be encouraged. Okay, thanks. Bye, guys. Oh, if this is too long and I need to like make a condensed like Reader's Digest version or whatever, y'all let me know. I could do that. I could be like, this is my much quicker nano update. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Bye. Thank you guys for watching. And I'm so happy I get to do AuthorTube now. Okay, bye. I'm sorry, I forgot to add one more thing, which was, do I plan to write today? Yes. I plan to write before I go to bed. But I'm probably going to put a small goal on there, like 1,000 or 2,000 words, you know, whatever. Oh, and there's this thing called Pacemaker. Somebody told me about this on Twitter. You can track your writing progress when it's not NaNoWriMo. You can track your writing progress by words. They'll graph it for you. I love it. So go to Pacemaker, do all your stuff, and just, I love you guys.